Good afternoon, members. Thank you for coming in today. Um, it is now 1:06 p.m. and I call this budget hearing into order. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce members of this committee, and we'll start with my far left, your immediate right. We have Representative Selena Babauta. She's the chairwoman for JGO. To her right, we have Representative Christina Sablan, chairwoman for Health and Welfare. To her right, Representative Leila Staffler, the chairwoman for Education. He was just in here earlier. We have our floor leader, Representative Ralph Yumo. And we have Representative Sheila Babauta, chairwoman for Natural Resources. And then next to her, we have Representative Edwin Probst, chairman for Gaming. I am the chair for Health and Welfare, Donald Manglonia, and to my right, we have the vice chair, Representative Ivan Blanco. Moving down over to my far right is Representative Richard Lizama, chairman for PUTC. To his left, Representative Danita Yanktumai, chairwoman for Commerce and Tourism and Cannabis. And then we have Representative Vicente Camacho, chairman for Federal and Foreign Affairs. And assisting the committee, we have our Senior Legislative Assistant, Ms. Claire Sablan, our Fiscal Analyst, Mr. Thomas Rabago, our Legal Counsel, Joe Tyrone, our IT, Jonathan Diaz, and Sergeant at Arms, Mr. Dennis Regis. All right, good afternoon, members of the committee and DPW. Today, we are here to discuss the governor's proposal of the general fund, as well as something that is new is the volume 4, which is the governor's proposal of the American Rescue Plan. And we're basically here to listen to the requests of the Department of Public Works if there's something that was missed in the budget submission, and to see how we can assist DPW in continuing to provide the services to the public. Based on our fiscal analyst's review of the submission, DPW had requested about 4 million, 3,995,083 to be exact, in which the governor had proposed a combined general fund and ARPA of 4,078,310, which computes 83,227 over what was requested by DPW. And so before we go into the questioning, I will hand over the floor to the secretary to provide any opening remarks that you may have. Thank you, Secretary.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Honorable Chairman and members of this committee. Again, we received the invitation about a month ago about this important budget hearing, and again, I am very honored and happy to be with you guys this afternoon, as well as my team. There are 6 division directors, of course, and I also have with me the people behind the financial status of the department. And again, I want to extend again the appreciation for providing us this day for the budget hearing. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you, Secretary. Can you please introduce your team that are with you?
Oh, sorry. To my right is Ms. Lorraine Villagomez. She is the highway administrator, and right next to him is one of our senior highway engineer, Sagani Salazar. And to my left is the acting solid waste management director, Blas Muffness, and our chief financial officer for the department, Ms. Rita Siren, and of course the director of administration, Mr. Peter Camacho, the director of technical services division, Mr. Anthony Kawatsu, and behind me to the right is acting director for building code, correction, energy office, Ben Sato. On his left is the director of roads and grounds division, Mr. Mike Borja. And of course, we have also with me the longest serving employee for that prestigious division, the building code, Ms. Yvonne Tenorio. And of course, we have our senior highway engineer, Mr. Henry Bautista. And of course, the solid waste accountant or senior accountant, Ms. Lina Torres. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary Ada, and again, welcome to your team that are with you here today. And so, with that, we'll just go ahead and proceed to any questions that the members have. But before I do so, I just wanted to ask, based on your submission and the request that you've submitted at 4 million, do you anticipate any additional requests for next fiscal year that is not included in your original submission?
Excuse me, that also includes with the ARPA funding?
Yes.
What additional that I did submit is to ask for 8 additional FTs strictly for the Roads and Grounds Division.
So you're needing, in addition to what you submitted back in April or earlier, you are needing 8 additional FTEs.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman.
Do you have a breakdown of those positions and what the cost is?
You ready, read? Jamil.
It's minimum wage of the 15,000 per annum, and it's 8 for trades helper. That's about 120,000 for all the 8 FTEs that the secretary is requesting.
So in addition to 8, your initial request for next fiscal year, aside from the 8, was 100 FTEs, but the governor had proposed 103. Are you still needing those 3 additional FTEs?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And then as far as operations, what was proposed for the operations, is that something that the department is satisfied with?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
And lastly, in regards to any revolving fund accounts, do you have the fund status of those accounts?
Yes, the solid waste account.
Is that the only revolving fund that's under the department?
Yes.
Do you have the current balance of all 3 districts with you today?
Lina will provide that.
Yes. Jonathan, the mic works so well? Yeah.
The revolving fund for Saipan as of May 31st is year-to-date is a deficit of 429,447. The inception to date for Saipan is 2 million, a deficit of 2,186,301. As for RODA, year-to-date is a deficit of 93,382, and the inception to date is 186,120. The 114th year to date is a deficit of 118,958. Inception to date for that is 500 deficit of 564 and 776. The financial assurance year to date is a negative of 135, and the inception to date is 54,614.
Thank you for that. And so the building code, is that not a revolving fund account?
It is, the balance for, the current balance for that account is 126,699. And for the road maintenance, it's 307,482.
Is that business unit 3564A or is that another one?
Okay, for the road maintenance, the business unit is 3564A.
Okay.
And for the building code administrative fees is business unit 3730A.
So I know sorry, going back to the solid waste, there's, for the districts, you have 2082, 83, and 84. What is 2081?
2081 is the one that they're using for general fund.
Okay. Do you have the balance of that one?
Current year is 986,754. This is the one that they transferred, but it was not, I don't know, from 1481 to 2081. I'm sorry, 1485 to 2081. They just recently created the 2081 because back in July 10 of fiscal year 18, they closed this one and then just created this fiscal year 2021 again.
So who is expenditure authority for 2081?
Us.
Secretary, and what are those funds used for?
For personnel and all others.
Has the issue of hazardous pay been addressed?
What I mean,
Has the issue on hazardous pay been addressed?
yes, the hazardous actually,
I can answer that, sir. We did process for 2 fiscal years the hazardous differential, but unfortunately, due to economic hardship and austerity measures, they were returned, and we are resubmitting them for reconsideration for this fiscal year. So a lot of the employees that were budgeted for hazardous differential did not get their hazardous differential pay. That includes for stipend, Tinian, and Rora.
So it is being worked on now.
Yes, yes. They did get paid, but not the full fiscal year.
When was the last time they got paid? Are you aware?
We would have to check back on the record because I know that at some point they had to stop it due to financial constraint.
Right. So the last time I recalled, I think was January 2019. So since then, nothing has been paid out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have notified all the Tinian and Rora to reprocess the hazardous differential, and those that were returned back to the department, we submitted those to OMB for reconsideration and approval.
All right. Thank you for that. At this time, I would like to open the floor to the members? I recognize the Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Secretary, and your directors and members of your team. Just to follow up on the Chairman's question earlier, and this is on the FTEs. Your request was 400 FTEs, and the governor added 3 more. The 8 that you're requesting, is that within the original 100, or would this be on top of the 103?
No, that's a new position, new request for 8 position.
So it'll be 100 plus the
11.
3 from the governor's proposal plus 8 more.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the clarification. Thank you, Chairman. Ayu.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Floor is now open. I recognize Representative Staffler.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to all of you coming from DPW, very important and humongous area of our government, and definitely good to hear the things that you're sharing, especially with the hazard differential. I had some people approach me from Tinian about that, so it's good news to hear. I was curious in particular when we've met before regarding the watershed, and one of the things I discussed with DLNR as well was, what was the plan before and what do we need to do to keep it going? And one of the things they had mentioned is that there was 1.2 million that was allocated to cover the runoff drainage, but then it was reappropriated from the governor's side, I believe. Yes? No? Well, I guess I'd like to know, is there plans to request for that money back? And I guess, is that part of your plan?
Sure. Right now, with that being the Laulo Bay Road, we have asked with DPL to provide us the severance mapping of the area so that it'll clearly show what is the actual right of way that DPW should be working on. I know that we've gone down to fix that road, but we are fixing an old road that's been there forever. And again, we still don't know if that would be the appropriate area for it. So DPL needs to provide us that severance map. And I know there's some private properties there that probably needs to be acquired. So as far as funding, I guess that would be a local funded project since it's not under our territorial highway. I hope maybe the House can give us some money to get that fixed.
We can't ask for that money back? No?
I'm not sure where and when that money was taken and reappropriated, so I can't answer to that yet.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question, kind of in the same line as the watershed. I met with different people and we talked about the sediment catchment, and that was kind of an issue in that sometimes the sediment catchment isn't cleaned out in a timely manner, so then it doesn't really protect the oceans as it's intended. And so I'd like to ask if, especially for your additional 8 FTEs for roads and grounds, would that include plans to address the sediment catchments around the water, or of the watersheds around our islands?
Yes, we will do.
That's good news. I look forward to that. If you need volunteers, let me know. I yield. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Staffler. Floor is now open. Recognize Representative Sablon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good afternoon, Mr. Secretary, and to your staff and managers here. My first question was following up on the issues of our village roads. I realize that DPW receives and manages the highway monies for those roads that are designated as federal highways. But I am curious about, what the plan is, what your resources are to fix and maintain our village roads too. Some of our village roads are just in terrible condition, and what are DPW's needs for that? And is there a plan to address the residential areas as well, where a lot of our people drive every day? and then what do you need if it's not addressed in this budget?
Thank you for that question. I was hoping I was going to talk to you about it, but really it's true, especially from District 1 to District 5, very bad. But if there's a local appropriation, we can come up with a design with that and everything. But what we're doing right now is simply just patching it whenever somebody from the precinct call, either your office or Congressman JP. So
Yeah.
you're able to just do the road patching for that matter.
Okay, so you primarily rely on just the local delegations appropriations?
Yes, for
make these
secondary road.
patches? Okay.
Yeah, for the secondary road.
Is that something that you could also address in the CNMI-wide budget that the governor submits?
I guess we just have to revisit it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
But do you have the equipment to do these secondary road repairs, or is that something that would have to be contracted out?
It has to be contracted out. For the patching we do have, but for reconstruction we need to contract it out.
Okay. Is there some kind of comprehensive plan, DPW plan that addresses the secondary roads? I know you have one for the highways, right? The federal highways, but what about for the secondary roads? Is there a plan, or does it just depend on when local appropriations are made?
I think we do have a plan for secondary roads.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can address it. Like I said, we can go back and revisit it.
There is a plan.
Mhm.
Where can we find that
Wait,
plan?
do we still have that?
Is that
I
TSD?
remember that. Yeah.
I know that back then there was a blanket design for some of the secondary roads.
Mhm.
And I think at this point, most of that, maybe 90% of it has been paved.
Oh,
So
okay.
there are new roads that has been paved from the secondary, and then also the old secondary that's starting to deteriorate.
Right.
So, we need to go full circle and
So
come
we
back.
need to update that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that DPW does, like, aren't you guys in the middle of updating like the federal highway plan? Do you do a similar thing for the secondary roads?
Yes, but again, it ultimately, takes funding to do a comprehensive master plan. So
Right.
maybe that's something I can talk to the legislature about.
Mhm.
And it also comes down to me or the team meeting each precinct.
Right.
Maybe each precinct can give us some of their priority projects in terms of roads,
Yeah.
and we can provide the estimates so that that's somehow
I
a way
think
where
that
we
would be
can
helpful.
appropriate the.
But to do it on
right
a
amount.
like on a CNMI-wide comprehensive level, because it's not just Saipan that
Sure.
needs
Sure.
Secondary road maintenance too.
Yeah,
Great.
hopefully all precincts can throw in some money and we'll do one CNMI wide.
Mhm.
I think our CNMI 20-year master plan is at a cost of over $200,000.
Oh, okay.
So for secondary roads, I'm assuming having more mileage to that,
Right.
maybe triple that amount.
May I suggest, since the administration is going to be submitting a revised budget proposal for this coming fiscal year, that you include that as an ask.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that would be great. My second question has to do, or line of questioning has to really just do with the building safety code. I did note that the governor proposed 17 NOPs for building safety specifically. So that's 3 more than what DPW requested. And I just wanted to ask, what are those positions that are being proposed for that division? Because I remember too, even in the last budget cycle, there were some technical positions with building safety that you said that you needed, and I know you didn't get them. But what about for this fiscal year? What are those positions?
Is that the electric
Yeah.
engineer?
So the positions that we still have vacant under the building code, that would be the building safety official. As you know, Mr. Salazar is currently our acting building safety official. We are putting that out on the street, the papers out for routing, so that we can be able to attract a licensed engineer architect or an ICBO certified. That's what the law requires. We also used to have a building inspector trainee, but unfortunately, after the employees were called back from the furlough, one of our employees landed a job at the U.S. Postal Service, so he decided to not come back with DPW, but rather stay with because he just got hired.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one also, when they got furloughed, they took an opportunity, and she was picked up. Actually, the employee got picked up by BECQ. So we are currently processing those and all the other FTEs to advertise. As a matter of fact, we also have an engineer's position that we've been advertising. No hit. We are advertising a chief engineer for highways with no avail, and an engineer. I guess the issue here is that even if the salary is attractive, you know, my thoughts is that a lot of these big multi-million projects are trying to attract also engineers and architects to work for private companies. Right now, the salary cap for non-professional is pegged at 65. A licensed engineer to work for DPW is pegged at the highest is 70,000. So my suggestion is maybe they can pick it up. I know that I've talked to some of the private companies out on the island that are trying to hire engineers. They're having a hard time, even if they were advertising to 100,000 or 120,000, they still have a hard time because of the military buildup around the area in Guam and stuff. So I think that's something maybe this body maybe can look at and to see whether we can make it attractive so that we can be able to bring back our local talent. I know we've been trying hard to bring them back, but with the salary and student loans and then the cost of living for them, it's more attractive to stay in the States rather than to come back.
Right, but
But-
you're not limited by the salary cap in the law, right? To advertise for these technical positions, like the salary caps don't apply to professional licensed architects and engineers.
70,000 by statute.
That is, so you are limited by that.
Yes.
Oh.
So, as a matter of fact, we've been advertising some of the positions, and like I said, we haven't gotten any hits. I do believe like some of our engineers, it's sort of like a trend. We see a lot of our engineers come back, work for DPW. As soon as they get their license, they go into private businesses. I can name a lot of the engineers that used to work for us, but like I said, Sonia Danko was one of them. Jim Ripple was one of them. So there's a lot of talents, but as soon as they get their license, there's more opportunity to make out in the private than it is. But bottom line is that we need to push projects out,
Right.
but without the technical people and the stuff to attract them to come here, it's very hard.
Right.
And we've
Well,
been trying.
especially now when we're expecting so much construction activity,
exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
in this year and the coming years with FEMA and the military and
Yes.
CDBGDR and all these new federal funds for construction activities.
Yes.
We kind of need you guys to be well staffed, right?
So, we had a lot of our local staff that were trying to be picked up by some our private businesses to work for them. But so what we did was thank goodness there was they increased the non-professional cap to 65, so we were able to maintain them. Our biggest fear is for them to exit the department and work for the private, and then we're left with newbies to come in to trade, and those are investments that we put in for quite a long time, but we hate to lose talents because we can't pay them.
So what is a competitive salary? Like if the legislature were to consider even like as an administrative provision for this coming budget cycle.
I
what
believe
is a
I
competitive
believe the
salary?
engineers are the lowest in the bracket. They're 70, but I know like doctors are like 120, and some of the other professions. I think out of the professionals, I think the engineers and architects are the maximum they can make is 70,000 by statute.
And so a competitive salary would be somewhere in the lines.
Guam, from what I've heard and from some of the private companies, they're paying their people about 120,000 in Guam. So
Okay, and so specifically for building safety, DPW is looking to hire the building safety official, the chief engineers for highways,
right.
and then did you say like trainees for?
We have some building inspectors, but we're working with Northern Marianas Housing. They're a recipient with funds, so our guys are getting some training. But like I said, we've been trying to work out something to have the master coach from the States to come over and be able to train our guys. Unfortunately, with all this COVID pandemic and stuff, so we're trying to work out something where if they can't come, maybe they can do a virtual or plan for something that a little bit more sustainable. We've been sending people out for training to the States, but like I said, it's very hard, and the costs associated to training, and it's very expensive. So we wanted to see whether we can be able to work out something so that we can bring the trainer here, maybe have them stay for a while, and then train and certify not only our inspectors for Saipan, but also for Tinian and Rota.
Okay.
Yeah.
And could you just talk about your budget for training as well? What is the plan for this year for training your staff?
So with the NMC, right?
Right. So lately we've been trying to work out with our grantors and all the other agency that what do we qualify for and how they get these guys trained and certified. I know that we've been talking to NMTI to be able to bring some of the some of these professionals. I've talked to uh, to Frank Verbalem at one point to see whether they can, and Ross Manglone to see whether that's something they can put under their program so that we can be able to visit them and maybe have them, because it's a technical thing.
Right.
But unfortunately, I'm not too sure with the status with NMTI. But those are some of our ways of trying to see what training we can provide us more sustainable on island,
Okay.
because it's expensive to bring people out.
Sure. But may I ask, is this included in your budget? And if so, could you point us to where that is?
Budgeted for training?
Yes, we are.
Where is?
Actually, on the bottom, we usually use the bottom.
No, that's-
We usually use the bottom funding when for overall.
Just
So
all others?
it's usually under the secretary's office that we
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
because the other divisions, they're not. It's just personnel.
Okay.
With all
all others.
all others, just roads and grounds and secretary's office. Usually we put all the funding on that
I
account.
see. So for your training needs in this upcoming year, is this budget sufficient to address that?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
Thank you. And then my last question was to ask on the developer tax. Do you have any updates? I know in the last year we inquired about the biggest developer tax ower, which of course, as you know, was Imperial Pacific International. Have there been any updates on those taxes that were owed by the casino? And do you have the staff to do the assessments that are needed and the verifications of these statements that are submitted by either IPI or any other developer that may owe developer taxes?
Okay, it's on. Okay. Hi, good morning, Rep Tina. Yeah, we met with our legal counsel to seek advice as to how we're going to collect the remaining assessment for the 15 villas that were still owed by IPI. So the rest of the developer's tax so far were all paid except that one section.
And how much is that?
To this moment, we haven't gotten any amount from that because we kept following up for them to submit the assessment estimate costs
Mm-hmm.
so that we can be able to assess as to how much they will have to pay.
And how much have they paid so far?
So far, their total is 2,460,879. Those are included building permits, the plan review, placard, developer's tax, and the administrative fees.
Okay. So as I recall, and this is my last question, Mr.
Mhm.
Chairman. As I recall, even last year, we were still waiting for IPI to submit their statements, right, of the
Yes,
value of their
exactly.
construction. And so there's really no update since last year, except that you're consulting with legal counsel.
Yes, right
so-
now,
So I
yeah.
guess my question then, in terms of staffing, like, if the developer fails, as in IPI's case, fails
Mhm.
to submit to DPW their statement of the value of their construction, is there anybody at DPW that can do that work? Do you have the technical capacity to do our own like in-house verifications or assessments? In the event of a developer not doing the job.
Okay, we have a building plan examiner, which he can base himself on the plan, the drawings that they submitted for the villas. But as far as their part, it's a must. They have to submit that cost breakdown. And then our plan reviewer or plan examiner will review that cost whether it matches with what they're supposed to pay.
Okay. And when was the last time you heard from your legal counsel?
Last Friday.
And that's the AG?
Yeah.
Okay. And they're just going to provide an opinion on how you can collect, or what are you waiting on?
Yeah. He messaged our acting building official that he will be giving him a notice or the advice.
Okay. Thank you. I yield.
Okay, you're
Yeah.
welcome.
Thank you, Rep. Sablan. Just going back to Rep. Sablan's line of questioning in regards to how do we make the engineer's salary competitive? If we can get a revised request from DPW before or by July 1st, which is when we expect the governor to submit a revised budget, we can possibly do an administrative provision. Rep. Staffler, that's so that we can try to make it competitive at least for the next fiscal year, and then go back into the statute to make those amendments. And so however many engineers DPW would need, and the type of salary that you're looking for to attract these engineers, that's something that the committee will consider. And should we need to do any administrative provisions, those can be included for next fiscal year at least. And then again, amend the statute so that moving forward, we don't have to do this every budget year. Just one thing I want to go back to in your budget submission, the 100,000 that you've requested for professional services. Can I just ask what type of services do you seek? This would be under the solid waste 1485.
The 100,000 that I have in here is for the utilities, all others.
Under 1485, your request for professional services is 100,000.
That's for it's for utility, it's not professional services.
That's in addition. So I have one under utilities for 100,000, and then also for professional service at 100,000 as well. That's in addition to utilities. Is that overall your operations request is for 401,000. Of that amount, 100 for utilities, 100 for professional services. That's not something that you submitted? Under contractual, you have 100 under professional services, 12,000 communication, 75 for repair and maintenance, freight and handling 2,000. So that 100 there. Do you need a copy, or is that?
Yeah, this 100,000, it was, they are the one, the finance was the one. And the 80% for that one is for Saipan, 10% is for Rota, and 10% for Tinian. But I didn't.
I'm sorry. What was it? What's the 80% for?
That 100,000 for professional, it was distributed in three districts, the Rota, Tinian, and Saipan. And Saipan is for 80% of that 100, 10% for Rota, and 10% for Tinian.
Right. But what would this be used for?
See, Nadia. Nadia is the one who gave me this one. I didn't. The general fund. Probably this.
Well, I just wanted to ask because I wanted to have my follow-up question would be, do you contract any engineering services? Is that something that DPW currently does, or?
The, you were saying, I'm sorry, excuse me?
No, I wanted to ask what that 100,000 was for because my follow-up would be, does DPW contract have any contracts with engineering firms to assist the department in all your projects?
But as it relates to solid waste, right? Basically, because we're looking at the solid waste professional services.
Yeah, I wanted to see if that's the same purpose for those funds, but it seems like that's not something that you're aware of.
Maybe it's well.
Yeah. If I may, Congressman Manglonia, I know that DPW solid waste has a lot coming down the pipe. I believe we just got permitted for 2 transfer stations, one for Esgono and one for Cagmang. And I know we also are in the process of rehabilitating cell 2 and constructing cell 3. Some of the requirements to use the 56 million that was given to us, some of the requirements that might not fall under the purview of using that money, but it'll be very helpful and useful to have money under the professional services, because sometimes a lot of the stuff that we do for solid waste requires some engineering or some consultancy in regards to moving those projects. So not necessarily that we're not going to use it right now, but in the event that we need it, it's always nice, because as we go along with the projects, sometimes we ask to use the money under a certain grant or a certain federal funded project, but then they come back and say, well, it's not eligible. You have to find funding outside what was supposedly we can use. But then that'll be nice if it's in there, because we can certainly use that, especially now that we for the convenience center, we just got a little bit permit. Then what will be the next phase after that?
Just gonna go a step back, because actually the most recent one, Representative Staffler was online for some line of question. It was just actually one of the process during the design is the zoning for that area, and that was just the most recent one at Kensington. So that happened like last week, right, or something like that. That was it. It's not permitted yet. We're still gonna go through the process after the design completion of the design should be done, but that's just down the pipe. Yeah, hopefully we'll cross our fingers it will materialize. We're pushing for that funding through the 56 million, and it's not denied yet, but like Director Camacho was mentioning earlier, it's really requirement and to tap into the 56 million is very strict, and they need a lot of documentation. Like the good news is it's not denied yet or disapproved. We're still going to try and push it down. It wouldn't be bad to try and have something in our plan B, so to speak, to hopefully come up with funding. We have a general idea with the cost of the both sites, But just going back in line with the professional service, I look at it more like most of the training, bring in trainers, professional trainers for, to train the guys in compliance with handling hazardous, hazardous training. Maybe some services that are have what's that a skill or experience in pest control or the even the groundwater testing and such. I might Lynn, right? Those could be professional service that might be useful for those funding. And again, like Director Camacho was mentioning earlier, just some of the stuff that might go through federal funding, but rather just got to be covered locally.
Yeah. No, and I understand. I guess my question is, because of the lack of engineers employed under DPW, do you go out and contract services from private firms? Because I don't see it in any other divisions, uh, the cost for professional services. And so I wanted to ask, do you hire private firms to do some of the work that
Yeah.
an engineer under DPW would perform?
Sure, and solid waste doesn't want that 100,000. TSD will. Yeah, most of our projects that we hand out, through an RFP, includes the engineering services for designs. But in most cases, the local projects, depending on the threshold and amount, we do a lot of the designs in house. But the professional service, I think I see more of a need maybe for building code, because there's a lot of different disciplines that need to be overseen by building code, including mechanical and structural engineers. So I think that we need that 100,000.
No, we don't.
Well, I just wanted to bring it up, so it's something that you can also include in any revised submission you would like to give the committee by July 1st. Members, floor is now open. Recognize Rep. Rizama.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, gentlemen, ladies from DPW. A lot of this were mentioned already, except in regards to this professional service. I heard from you that yes, indeed, you sometimes get private service to companies to help you out in your on your engineering activities for what project under the solid waste. But my question here now, because we mentioned about $56 million. Well, it's not in the budget, but since we have the $56 million, when is the start date for Asgono, Landfill, transfer station, and Cartman? And if you look at Asgono, I believe they're going to come up with a lot of housing, what do you call it? Homestead. And there's some other farms and so forth. Isn't that gonna alert you by saying, wow, they're gonna come in, this public gonna come in and we're gonna have this smell coming out of the landfill. Is that gonna change or affect into that project? And
this time, like I said, just recently for zoning purposes, it's already it went through. We got the approval to go ahead and proceed. The next step. As far as emitting, creating any odor or nuisance, it's going to be very limited for both locations, Kangman and Asgono as well, into its operation. It's basically a convenience center for just a drop off and immediate hauling to Mark or lower base for further processing. It did fly by my ears regarding the additional homestead that the DPO is planning. However, we're going to try and submit a reservation to that because those two sites for the proposed convenience center / transfer station, that's just for the day-to-day operation. However, because those two specific lots have always been used for disaster staging areas, we want to replace that with a nearby bigger lot just for those. Again, the same necessity for any future because we will have more, some more disaster coming our way. and we do need the space there for drop off. You'll be more right now more controlled once the convenience centers are built. The offices will be there for any staffing that may be assigned or will be assigned to both sites, and then we'll take it from there. Kangman, the only issue right now is just because of its agricultural designation, but we did went through the first hearing and zoning to change that into a rural, and we got it approved. The second zoning hearing was for the construction of those two facilities. But the 56 million you were inquiring to just a moment ago is really, it's out of our control. It's really EPA by US, US law that there is, we have to get their approval as well. It's really a tedious process. There's a lot of requirement being submitted before even tapping into that. Like I said, we submitted. Fortunately, we've already gone through the rehabilitation of SIL2 funding. It's been approved. We're working on the construction of SIL3. Henry. That should be almost 100% in design. And again, we did submit a punch list since day one. Once we had notice of the 56 million, that's specifically for solid waste, and without that's the bill's purpose. So once that's done, and it's really just related to some improvement to address any shortfall for the Typhoon U2 recovery efforts. But even that, we're very limited into getting additional funding for any other things besides disaster remnants or U2 remnants that might be. So Factinian, we're still working with getting whatever that was left behind after the recovery period was called off by the governor. Of course, it always there's always a trickle. It takes time, 2, 3, 4 years after a disaster hits. It might be recovery might be rescinded by the governor within a year, but 2, 3, 4 years down the line, we still got you know disaster U2 debris coming in, especially with the FEMA construction, the shortfall of the manpower. They just recently started, constructing home, and those are, in my opinion, those are U2 related. However, it's kind of hard to connect that that this debris as a U2 debris because of the time. Yes, the time lapse. So yes, the 56 million. I know Tinian would love to get their share. 56 million off the top of my head was meant to be split out. 10 million for Rhoda, 10 million for Tinian, and because Saipan is, of course, the most populated, island, would get its 36 million. So we're working not necessarily in the 56 million, as a whole, but just on the 36 million. Rhoda, Tinian has their own preference as to how they want to use their 10 million, or at least maximum of 10 million. They might need more, and I think our Congressman Kilili might be ready if we do need more. Rhoda has their own approach to address their solid waste. We're just here with once they requested the secretary to fly the solid waste experienced team down to assist them, then we'll fly down and give them their back. We are actually right at this moment, Office of Planning and Development under the governor's office is taking the lead in making sure we expedite any request tapping into the 56 million. So we're having our weekly meeting in regards to that, among other things.
Well, thank you for the information, but I'm only concerned about environmental issues here. And as we know that the homestead is going to be open soon, and the change of the requirement for the environmental, it may delay more. It may delay that project a lot longer, because, and then you're going to need more money because there'll be a lot of them, be a lot of changes, right? That's all. That's my actual
Yes.
concern. Now let's go back to the Marpi area. There's been so many times that they were bid out for other stuff. I know there's this money coming in. Maybe perhaps that's what the chairman was saying, to revise your request for funding. What is the issue over there at Marpi that is did not go with the previous bidding that you had before? There was some bidding and nothing at occurred? Was it because the vendors or the engineers were not doing it the right way? Why was it a delay? I know that there's a plan to work on the Marpi landfill, right?
Yes, Congressman. Barpi landfill right now, I would say the protest for the award to Micronesian Environmental Services
So that holds everything.
is in the courts.
So that holds everything.
That's kind of out of our hands.
I understand.
Yeah, it's still in the courts. However, we're glad to report that this contractor that's been operating under protest is really up to par with the facility. As a matter of fact, I believe we have a preliminary notice for the permitted for the market facility to renew its permit, and it's for another 5 years. And that's the good news. We're waiting for the green light. So that's an indication, at least to us, that it's we're moving in the right direction. Environmental wise, again, just like for the two proposed convenience centers, SMART as well, lower base, we already received our 5-year renewal permit. That's that's an excellent news for us. So we are meeting. BCQ is always on top of us in regards to any environmental issues. MARPI, we're moving forward. We should be getting another 5 years, and we will share with you guys about once we receive the permit officially, then we'll put it out in the paper if we could, that it's renewed for another 5 years, and that's
Okay,
so-
thank you. One more question. On the roads, I know highways and of course village roads, they need a lot of repaint on lanes, on pedestrian crossing and so forth. But because it's a federal fund and highway, our road, on the beach road, I can't see the bicycle lane anymore, and I can see a lot of those lanes in the middle. And I know our roads needs to be repaired, of course, but we still need to look at the safety of the people, especially those bicycle riders. I see them in the morning because I go to church. Sometimes I go to Garapan, Cristo Raya, I go to Talancanoa, and I see them early in the morning. They're riding a bike, and I'll be just like, ooh. So that's also I hope that you can come up with more money so that you can paint those roads for safety purposes. Thank you.
Congressman, for your information, we're in the process already. So phase 2 will be out soon. We have the completion of the 100% design already from Salampio to AK micro intersection. So the design is done already 100%. So we should be proceeding with the contract for that one.
That is included on the present.
Yes, includes
funding that you
even those backland that you're saying.
Okay.
So included.
Thank you. I hear back, sir.
Thank you, Rep. Zama. Sorry, Rep. Silina, 1 second. Before we move on, I just want to bring your attention to 1 CMC 8248. And this is the ceiling that we were talking about earlier. And it looks, according to Part B, engineers and architects whose primarily responsibilities include practice within their profession are exempted from any may receive an annual salary in excess of the salary ceiling. Is this something that you are aware of?
Is that the for engineers you said, sir? Excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, for engineers and architects. Anyone, any licensed engineers and architects are exempted from the salary ceiling. 1 CMC 8248B. B. Yeah, it doesn't, and also it doesn't specify that they have to be licensed. Sorry, it just says engineers and architects whose primary responsibilities include practice within their profession. And so it doesn't look like there needs to be a a provision if it's already normally when departments seek an increase in salary, the governor would just notify the legislature of anything in excess of the ceiling. So yeah. Um, council brought it up, and so state your point.
Yeah, because earlier our DPW guests indicated that there was a salary cap that applied just to engineers and architects. What was that? Were you referring to like this? Was that a civil salary cap? Like what were you referencing?
I don't have the file in front of me,
Mhm.
but I do have that particular CMC.
Okay.
That specifies licensed architect and engineers. So now receive a salary more than 70,000.
So you were referring to something in the statute, in the code, not in like regulation or
No, it was
okay. Huh. So there might be a conflict. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I believe the statute says that a minimum of 50,000, not more than 70. That was the amount that is specified for that. And then I believe there was a recent statute that was passed for non-professionals that increased not more than 65,000. Yes.
That's not licensed.
Not licensed.
There was a public law, I believe it's 20, I'm trying to find it, it's 20. You know, there was a public law that amended for 50,000 that amended the law so that the non-licensed would be able to get 65,000. And that applies to the current engineers on the highway. Yeah, it seemed like your engineer.
So maybe they would.
Yeah. Okay. That's. I mean, it would have been codified otherwise. If that's something that you can also look into, and if that's something that we still need to change, please let us know. All right.
I'll provide this to you that particular full public law.
Yeah. Yeah, because if that's according to Rep. Sablan, that could be a conflict with what's already. If it's not an amendment, because it looks like this particular section was last amended last legislature 21, right? So anything before that is not included on here, and so if you can, I recognize legal counsel.
So, bottom line, the committee is expressing an intent to allow you to bypass whatever cap may exist, to allow you to attract the professionals that you want to hire, provided the funds are available. We can't provide the funds unless we also know what the cap is and how much you're going to need. But once we identify whatever cap you're dealing with, if it's different from this one, then we can specifically state this cap does not apply to DPW, or this cap does not apply to any government contracts or for engineers in this fiscal year. Ideally, we don't want to do it in a budget bill. It's an administrative provision that we try to avoid. And we want to address this statute or whatever statute does exist. But if necessary, we'll put it as an administrative provision in the budget bill, which will lapse or cease to be effective upon the next fiscal year, right? So we'll have to do it again and again. But if necessary, we'll do it that way. But it'd be better if we did the specific amendment to whatever cap you're referring to. Thanks.
Yeah, like I said, the particular public law that I was referencing, it wasn't included in a budget provision, but rather a statute.
Yeah, thank you. So if you come up with anything, please forward that to the committee. At this time, I'd like to recognize Representative Babauta, Selena.
Thank you. My question relates to the Marpi landfill. So the way, as I understand it from earlier comments, the contract with Micronesian Environmental Services is still going, and that protest is now under the court's jurisdiction. Yes. How much was the monthly contract for that?
Use the mic, Lee.
Per annum is 1,277,940.
monthly.
I don't have the monthly.
Can you repeat that? I'm sorry, 1 million.
277,940.
And that contract started since March of last year? Is that correct?
July
July
6.
6, 20 up to 26.
1 moment. So that amounts to 106,494 per month. Is that still under the emergency contract?
I believe from February, March to June, that's the emergency contract. That was the emergency contract. It's a month to month,
Okay, so the current contract they have is an annual.
which is what we call the master contract, more of a 3-year contract
Mhm.
plus option for two years. It's a 3-year contract that started on July 6, and then 3 years after that.
And did that process go through a bidding process?
It's already been signed off.
It went through a bidding process?
Yes.
Okay.
And they got selected, but then they were protested. But because we cannot, stop any operator, we have to continue with the management of the waste. Unfortunately, it just couldn't stop. It cannot stop. So it's it's still ongoing, although albeit it's still under protest. And we're just having to let the court decide. What's the outcome of that.
Okay, I just lost my train of thought. Give me a moment. I'll think about my question later on with respect to the landfill. I have another one with respect to crosswalks. Who would handle that?
We have submitted the request for the funding to the grants to all the island-wide cross island.
Are there any plans right now being developed to designate crosswalks in Saipan at least?
At least those that are current, those are the ones that we submitted up at the grants office for funding to repaint all those cross islands.
So there's no plans to have any more designated crosswalks in Saipan?
We might have to review those.
And the reason why I asked that is because there's currently a bill in my committee that proposes fine for crosswalks, and I've argued that it is unenforceable because there's no crosswalk. So that's why I'm asking, are there any plans for new designated crosswalks on the island of Saipan?
Not new. It's just the repaint.
Okay.
For now, just for repaint.
I'll yield for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. For the first round, recognize Rep. Sheila Bavata.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, Secretary Ada, for being here and for bringing your team today to help us understand your budget needs and to really entertain the questions that we have for your department. I fully support the Department of Public Works. I believe that Public Works is a pillar to ensure that a community is successful, in addition to public safety, public education, public health. Public Works, because it deals with our infrastructure, is so important. And so thank you again just for being here. Before I begin, some questions about your budget line items. I would just like to gain some clarification. According to your citizen-centric report, your 6 divisions listed are Administrative Services Division, Building Safety Code Division, the Energy Division, Solid Waste Management Division, Technical Services Division, and Roads and Grounds. In our budget packet, though, we do have DPW streetlights, and the Secretary of DPW, which I am just presuming that is the Administrative Services Division. So here, the DPW Streetlights Division is included in our budget packet, but is not listed as a division here. It's the Energy Division. So is that the same division? The Energy Division and the Streetlight Division?
Finance created that account for streetlight itself. It's not under building code. It's just
Or energy.
mainly
It's
for
not under energy.
streetlight.
So
I mean, not energy. I'm sorry.
the streetlights, it's just not funded at all, right?
Yes, we
Can you
use-
explain why that is, and if DPW plays any role in the maintenance or replacement of our streetlights?
At one point, before CUC separated as an agency, CUC used to be under the Department of Public Works. Used to be water, power, sewer, and roads and maintenance. But when CUC separated and became an autonomous agency, and became the Commonwealth Utilities Corporation, we became the bill payer under the statute. CUC owns the telephone poles and the street lights. So, but when it comes to the maintenance for the street lights, it's really out of our control. We just pay the bills. Like Miss Siren was mentioning, we are not budgeted for street lights. What we usually do is we just send the bills up to finance, and then finance looks for the money to pay for the street lights. And according to Miss Siren, I think all the street lights are up to par in the billing payment. Yes. So,
And are you aware of what funding source is used to pay for this streetlight bill?
we just submit the bills to finance,
Okay.
and then finance pays for it. But what we usually do with CUC, because since we're the bill payers, we usually go together with CUC and do an annual streetlight count. So we want to make sure that to know what's working and what's not working. In the past, sometimes we have our guys go out and check the streetlights whether they're working or not working, because
And
some
how
of them.
often is that done?
we
How
have
often is the inspection conducted?
we usually try to do it maybe once a year with our team.
And this is inside the villages as well?
Yes, so total street light, and we do it ourselves just to see what's not working, so we can be able to let CUC know what's working, what's not working, so that we can pay an accurate bill. But we've been working together with CUC, with a power division, so that we can be able to go together and then assess and see whether.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for
Yes.
sharing that too, because it's very important that our streetlights are working. When our villages are dark, crime rates tend to increase, safety decreases, and we get a lot of calls for streetlight replacement or maintenance. But okay, so clarified. So then in regards to the energy division, is that a division that is funded? Because it's not listed here as a division, but it's listed in your citizen-centric report.
The division
Oh,
of energy is fully funded, actually. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's federally funded.
So it's fully federally funded. And is that the state energy program?
State energy program and the weatherization assistance program.
And do you have an energy portfolio that is available to our community? We do want to move towards sustainable energy, renewable energy, and so that is something that I don't think we talk enough about. That does fall under my committee as Natural Resources Chairwoman, and that's something I fully support because utilities is just an ongoing issue for our island, right? And we see places in the Pacific as well, like American Samoa, that has an island that's fully sourced by renewable energy. So can you just expand on what this state energy program federal funding is used for?
So all the programs that we administer under the energy office are associated with residential consumers. And we fund all the programs at 100% from those federal grants that we receive. Now, as far as portfolio, I believe it was 15-23 where that was actually established. I know that we had funded some studies, but those were subgranted to CUC to conduct those studies and contract it out. I know there were uh, new reports that came out regarding renewable energy, and so those would with CUC.
Thank you for that. And so, because this federal funding is used for residential, can you just expand on that? What kind of residential assistance are you providing through this grant?
Okay, so for the state energy program, it's more educational and promotional on energy efficiency and the implementation of those measures. So it's designed to assist residential consumers reduce the energy burden within their homes, but also reduce the cost of energy to them through the replacement of energy efficient appliances, lighting, LED bulbs, for example. Now, under the Weatherization Assistance Program, it's an income based program. And so it's basically the same thing. Under the Weatherization Assistance Program, we fully fund those weatherization of homes, but they're more targeted to a priority list, for example. So these are homes with individuals with disabilities, senior citizens, homes with children under a certain age, um, and so we basically do replacements as well, and there's no expense coming out from those residential
Thank you,
consumers.
Mr. Atal. And how closely do you work with CUC?
Uh, not close.
Okay, thank you very much. So clarified. My next question is in regards to roads and grounds. I just want to first thank your department, your roads and grounds team, Mr. Mike Borja and his entire team worked very hard in assisting our community in many different ways, from road maintenance and repairs to even cemetery, requests for our community. So according to your mission statement for this division, it is to provide quality service to the general public in maintaining primary roads, road shoulder beautification, drainage systems, traffic light intersection, and the opening of right-of-way access roads to ensure the public a safe driving condition. That is a lot of responsibilities for roads and grounds. However, your budget does reflect an operational budget of just 14,000. There is zero allocated for fuel and lubricants, and only $10,000 for repairs and maintenance. And I'm not even sure if that's repairs and maintenance for equipment or for roads. So can you just explain why there is no budget allocated for fuel and lubricant, and how is that allocated to the roads and grounds division?
For roads and grounds, the fuel and any other operations, we usually take it out from the secretary's office. Even with telephone and whatever operations. For repair, the only requested amount, the 10,000. It's for any repairs that they need from parts and whatever that they need for vehicles, repairs and that. So that's the only amount that I can request, because sometimes.
So in the past, how much has been used for fuel and lubricant for the roads and grounds division? Under the secretary's budget, there is only 45,000 allocated for fuel. And with the rising costs of fuel, is that sufficient?
It's not. That's the only amount that we were approved from the past previous budget.
How much does
public
roads
lot-
and grounds usually use in fuel in a year?
In a year,
Yeah.
5, 12. They can cost up to maybe 20, 30,000.
Mm, okay.
Because monthly they usually spend like 2,000, 3,000 a month.
Okay.
Right.
And there is no budget allocated for supplies. Is
That one also comes out from the secretary's office budget. We just maintain it under we control it under the secretary's office.
and under the secretary's budget, it's only allocated at 2,500.
Yes, we're also limited with that.
Yeah.
We try to request 5,000 above, but they put it down back in 20 Public Law 21-35 because of the austerity and whatever.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So clarified. I have visited the division's office space. Well, no, a number of times actually, just to meet the team that works on the projects requested for our precinct, and really thank them for all of their hard work. So I am well aware of the conditions that the team is in, and I think that during this time, especially with the influx of federal funding, we can improve our facilities for our men and women in roads and grounds and just public works in general. But since roads and grounds is responsible for our primary roads, will that include crosswalks and speed bumps? Yes. And so if one were to request a speed bump in the area, would that request go through this division?
We would have to, yes, and we would have to coordinate with DPS.
And coordinate with DPS, and the funding would come out of this division
Through appropriation.
through appropriations. Okay. Okay. So clarified. I support increasing funding for roads and grounds. That is the point of my questioning. Moving on to solid waste management. This is the really highest funded division at a total of about 1.6 million in the department. So that's almost more than half of DPW's budget is that the Saipan solid waste. And the landfill in Lower Base and the Marpi landfill is in precinct 4. So I am very familiar with the area and have visited these facilities many times. And my first question will be in regards to personnel. I'm glad that you have requested 8 additional personnel for roads and grounds, but personnel for Saipan solid waste, is that sufficient at right now? How many? We have
19.
19?
12, 19. 19, Congresswoman.
And can you just explain where these 19 positions are? This is split between the 2 facilities?
No, for the most part, everybody's a lower base. The only staffing that we provide in Marpi are basically on a daily basis, at least 2 spotters and 1 scale attendant, for transaction.
Spotter.
Spotters, yeah, or
What is a spotter
load
do?
inspectors
Load inspector.
to make sure that there's no restricted items or prohibited items that would pass through or be
Yes.
disposed of at Marpi. That would be a violation of our permit requirements or conditions. That's the 2 of the most, so, and operating 6 days a week. We are running a tight ship. However, once the additional satellite areas such as Asgono and Kangman, then we'll be revisiting this, your office or, this committee to see how we can, provide the staffing for those. At this point in time, to answer, because it is a tight ship, we are running 6 days a week operation out of the total holidays of the year, both federal and local. I believe we're close to about four holidays out of the whole year.
Yes,
So
and we're
we-
really
we-
grateful. Thank you for expanding the hours of operations for these facilities because we believe that this can help decrease illegal dumping. Many times in Marpi, various locations in Marpi, we do see illegal dumping of household items, big items, and so having the facilities open as much as possible is really helpful. So thank you for sharing that. Is data collected at these facilities?
Data such as, yes, everything that comes into the scale, we do have different categories for them, for disposal, any items that are being disposed.
And where can we find data?
You can come to lower base and our
Mhm.
content, or we can get a printout.
And what
up
kind of
to,
data do you collect?
tonnage report,
Mhm.
which is very valuable data for any future planning,
Right.
i.e. such as the waste to energy that might come up, or even for this proposed Tinian I guess objective of zero waste. Those are the things that might come in handy. uh, and again, anything else, even during disaster, we do separate the those disaster debris until such time, just for reimbursement purposes or accountability, so we can identify the tonnages that was generated from any particular disaster and so forth.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I will be reaching out to your division for some data requests because I too believe in data, and it's important for us to know how much our community is creating when it comes to waste, so that we can
Yes.
really encourage reduction in waste because our landfill is at capacity and it's really expensive. It's really expensive if we don't individually, and as a household, take care of our waste usage.
Exactly, Congresswoman.
My next question though is in regards to Tinian and Rhoda. When we were on the islands of Tinian and Rhoda, I did visit these locations with Rep Staffler, and so I know the budget in here is for Saipan, solid waste management, but do you work with the Tinian divisions at all?
For this fiscal year, I believe Saipan and Aurora are all budgeted under Saipan's current account. And to answer your questions in regards to manpower issue, we usually avail to WIA or the summer program, or the courts refer some of their clients over to serve the community service with DPW. So we usually take advantage of those also, so that they can be able to serve on our facility and help us work and see how things run, and hopefully when they do become productive member of society, they can
Yeah.
hopefully especially if they were caught for littering or some other infraction, and
Right.
that really helps us
Thank
also.
you. Yes, I agree. Go ahead. I think Miss wanted to share something in the back.
The budget request for fiscal year 22 for solid waste, it's distributed in 3 districts. Like on the personnel, the 1,058,039 distributed to Saipan 490,258, for RODA 212,909, and for Tinian is 293,527.
So that's for personnel. It's listed under the Saipan solid waste management, but is split among the 3 islands. How about for operations?
All others, the 404,471 split into 3 also. Saipan is 323,576. The RODA
I'm
is
sorry, can you repeat that?
323,576. The
Okay.
RODA is 40,447, and the Tinian is 40,447.
And this is just for the solid waste
others.
management. And that's for the landfill and the transfer station? On Tinian, there's a transfer station.
And the utilities for that one, which they put to 100,000, 80,000 for that is Saipan, and 10,000 for Roda, and 10,000.
And 10,000, and that's for
And the
utilities.
total of 1,562,510.
Are there any other divisions where the budget is listed here under the Saipan, but is split among the three islands? Is it just for Saipan solid waste?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for us. My last question is in regards to utilities, and I see that there's none budgeted for water. Why is that? It's under we have utilities for power, but none for water?
It's included.
So you included it in one, just under utilities power?
Yes.
Okay, and then the location on Beach Road, are you currently renting that space?
Yes.
And I believe here it's at 65,000. How much do you pay in rent total?
Yeah, we requested
50,000?
65,000 for office space rental, and that's at the
That's under the secretary's,
correct.
it's actually 50,000. And that's just for that space on Beach Road only? Yes?
Yes.
And that's 50,000 for the year. Okay. Okay, so clarified. Thank you. I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Excuse me, Representative Abauta. Yeah, just before you go, please, just if any requests coming in through solid waste, before the respect, just pass through the Secretary of Public Works as a courtesy of your 180 data, and I think we'll go ahead. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Babauta. For the first round, any other members? All right, moving on to second, I recognize the Vice Chair.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So I noticed that there was no funding for heavy equipment this fiscal year. Mr. Secretary, yes, please.
Thank you for that. We did submit a list of our wish list since January to the Southern Northern Island delegation.
Okay. Perhaps members, I'll share with you if you don't have that particular list, so that we may also consider funding perhaps through SNILE and through this budget process. Come again?
When was it submitted? I think we have one.
January, did you say, Secretary? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Okay, so if back around in March, there was a progress report for the priority projects. That was, I understand, was shared with the chairman of PUTC, Chairman Lizama, and the members. Would you happen to have the latest progress report on these projects? Oh, that's okay. You can submit it for the members later on. Thank you very much, Chairman.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Going back to the wish list, did you submit one for the ARPA funds?
No, that's submitted prior to the ARPA funding.
Do you have another wish list that?
We can sit down again with my team and submit it before the July 1st.
Okay, so none was submitted to OMB in the recent weeks?
None. For equipment wise, right?
No, overall. Well,
So we did communicate with OMB on some of the ones that can be covered under ARPA. So with the design of Beach Road, we have a shortfall of about 2.9 million. And we did submit our requests as of yesterday on what can be covered under the ARPA funds. And we are working on a list of other funding shortfalls.
okay, but this is overall department needs, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
And projects.
Yeah, it sounds like your initial submission was very conservative in the sense that you were going off of the austerity level in 2020, but we wanted to ensure that any additional requests be done so prior to July 1st, so that will give the members a time to review your requests and move funds around to try to meet your needs. Any other members for the second round? I'll take two more. All right, I recognize Representative Lazama.
Thank you, Chairman. I just need to verify from the legal counsel, because the salary bracket that you have for the engineer that you want to hire, is it possible that they can do advertisement like incentive or bonus, or in addition to the salary cap, there will be housing provided and so forth? Is that possible, or is it legal? I mean, is that how you do your members from DPW? You guys do your advertisement like that, or just the salary based on the salary bracket?
I get what you're saying, but I guess we need to establish a budget before. We did one advertisement last year, and we had an interested applicant, but he wanted 90,000, and this is from off island. And part of the 90,000 includes his travel costs and moving. I don't think DPW has a problem with that. We just need to make sure we have that money in the budget. So before we do that, we probably need to reassess, the funding level. Yeah.
Thank you, but if you just ask for the budget, for the salary budget, some money will be coming out of the secretary. As you mentioned earlier, there are monies there for different purposes, and maybe that could be included. Give you some more. Ask for more, and perhaps it helps you find somebody, because we're going to be facing a lot of problems. We have a lot of projects coming to our highlands, and as a concerned PTC chairman, I'd like for you to hire one immediately. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rep. Lazama. Just looking at, I think this is also something that you guys can look into. Public Law 21-9. It's in regards to the amendment to the salary ceiling, and so that's something that you can look into before your next your revised submission, should you have one. All right. So Public Law 21-9, and then again that's 1 CMC 8248. Yeah. All right, members, one more. Anyone else? All right, I recognize Representative Sablan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I am also a bit puzzled, as I think maybe the chairman was expressing earlier, about the conservativeness of DPW's request, especially when we're expecting a lot of money through ARPA, and we did get, you mentioned the request to the SNILD for $650,000 for heavy equipment. And that's for a dump truck, a payloader, a roller compactor, water truck, tractor mower, and other items. But in your letter, Mr. Secretary, you note that the need for this funding is urgent. The equipment that you have is deteriorating. There's equipment that you don't have that you really need to perform your duties and responsibilities. And so I guess I'm just puzzled about why those needs of the department weren't included in this budget request for the general fund budget and for ARPA. I wanted to reiterate the chairman's request. I think all of us would be interested in seeing a more complete picture of the needs of the department, to include your equipment needs and your technical capacity needs. I think we all want to see DPW able to function at its, full capacity. So, I please do submit a revised request that addresses all of the needs of the department, and give us your wish list, because we are expecting a windfall, and this would be the time to ask for
Good.
those needs. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Sablan. All right, members. With that, maybe if we do get a revised submission, and the members have any other questions in regards to their request, we can maybe invite them for an informal meeting to see how we can assist them. And if you have any questions based on their revised submission. With that, members. Oh, yes, ma'am. Recognized.
Yes. I know that right now we're using half of the ARP funding, but is it possible that we can raise up our budget ceiling for this upcoming revised budget?
Yes.
I mean, since you
There's
guys were requesting for all this equipment, to be purchased, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
This would be the best
Because
time
of the
to do
budget
that.
telling us to give us, a budget ceiling, we're following only the ceiling.
The chairman said just for DPW. Yes.
Thank you.
Plus.
All right. Sorry. One more question. Going back again to the ceiling that we were discussing earlier in regards to any changes to the statute, was this particular law something that you were going off of? Recognize legal counsel.
Right. So the codified version is code section 1 CMC 8148. And when I checked the source, it was public law 21-9. So that's a relief because now we know what we're dealing with. If this is what you're referring to, I just wanted to show you with your own eyes that it did refer to engineers as exempt from those caps. So you're good to go as long as you have the funding. There is no applicable salary cap for your engineers. If you have the funding, you can fund them to their 90,000 if there's funding, right? Just because we raise the salary cap doesn't mean we have the funding. But yeah. But your cap is no longer an issue. Yeah.
No, it don't.
So it's not applicable as well to non-professional engineers.
It doesn't specify.
Yeah, it's a little bit on the vague side. And I think that it's worded the way it's worded. Well, you can definitely get your AG assigned to you to chime in on how, but this was very recently amended in just the 21st legislature. It was not too long ago, so I think it was vaguely worded, and it says certified public accountants and professional medical advice, but when you get to engineers, it just says engineers. It doesn't. Yeah, that's to your benefit that the discretion is there. You don't want to hire unqualified people, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but there's no hand tying also. So please use the discretion wisely.
Yeah. So I mean, even with this current fiscal year, there's funding, right? Any engineers that you have on board can go above the ceiling, provided that the governor notifies the legislature of any increase in salary above the ceiling. All right, thank you, Council, for your clarification on this. And so this is again something that DPW can come back with. And again, this is your opportunity to go beyond whatever ceiling was set when you submitted this original budget. This is something that the committee will have to consider come deliberations time. And so if we can get it even sooner than, I know July 1st is just next week, but anytime before then, that way we can be reviewing your requests and see how we can assist. And so with that, members, again, any additional questions can be forwarded to DPW. And likewise, DPW, if you have any questions for the members or for the committee, please let us know, and we'll be glad to assist. Again, thank you, Secretary, for coming in and for bringing your entire team. The committee appreciates all of your presence here today to answer all these questions that we have. And so with that, Secretary, if there's any closing remarks you'd like to give.
Sure. Again, on behalf of the DPW family, we'd like to extend again our appreciation for all those concerns and questions. And now that you giving us the golden opportunity to go the max, so please, you will be seeing a lot of new wish lists, and I know it's going to go up. Like in baseball, you win some, you lose some. So I'm going to submit the winning one. Okay. So again, on behalf again of the DPW, and as always, we're always on the road, and wave at us, and we'll wave at you too, because I know we're gonna have a lot of working with Sheila. She has a lot of project with DPW, and so much more. I can see also the Congresswoman about asking me one time about the road. So we'll again accommodate. This is not about the election is over. It's time for us to move on and work for the good of the Commonwealth. Thank you again for having my team. And of course, we should be submitting as soon as possible once we're done here and meet with my team and submit our wish list. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you again, Secretary, and to your team. All right, members, that brings us to the next item on the agenda, announcements. Just one, NMTI for Thursday was moved to next Wednesday, the 30th. And then we do have, we still have DCCA on the 29th. So that clears our budget hearing calendar. We do have one scheduled, or we will have one scheduled with DPS sometime next week, assuming he's back from medical leave. And then one more day for all other agencies that we did not get to schedule. And so that's all I have. Any other announcements, members? None? Recognize Rep. Staffler.
I guess I just want to remind the community that the pandemic EBT, I can't remember the acronym right now, it blanked, but for your kids, that they were attending school, any public schools, they extended the deadline to this Friday to please submit your applications for your benefits for your school-age children who were attending school for 2020. Thank you.
All right, any other members? Recognize Rep. Babalta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for clarification, will we be inviting the Civil Service Commission and Office of Personnel Management on the All Others Day?
Yes. As soon as I get a date, I will share it with the members.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Assuming Rep. Selena doesn't reserve any additional days. All right, thank you. Members, if there are none, can I get a motion for adjournment? All right, motion was made and seconded. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say nay. Motion carries. This meeting is adjourned at 2:54.